Well, TJ, we got some ground to cover. Obviously, most importantly, the fact that the Detroit Lions, after 30-year wait and the first ever Division North championship, the last time they won the championship, the division title was in 1993, and it wasn't even North at that point. It was the Central. Tampa Bay was still in the division.
Yeah, you were what, in your sixth year at Washington?
Not quite. I was a junior in high school. Not quite. What year were you born?
I was 6 years old. I was born in 87. Yeah, right. So I was a little pup. I don't remember that one. All right, yeah. I'll never forget this one. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. So what was it like in the locker room?
Man, it was incredible. The game felt like, in control early, middle part of the game, like, 14 straight points, we're losing. Okay, we got a rebound. Hey, we got it under control. Oh, shit, we've had some bad memories at this stadium the last couple of years with last-minute comebacks. To finish that game off, watch I was right behind where Iffy made the interception, and my eyes immediately went to the sideline because I think that's when it sinks in. Yeah. Mission accomplished. Incredible, just being able to be there, be a little fly on the wall for their celebration. Went through the locker room, kind of heard some of the post-game speeches, watched them give out the hats and the T-shirts, watched the guys dance.
Did you get yourself a T-shirt?
I got a hat. Yeah, one of the guys gave me a hat. I wasn't going to grab one. I'm a radio guy, right? But one of the guys actually brought it up to me and, said, here, take that home. And it doesn't fit my big ass head, so I gave it to my son for Christmas. It's a little too small for my fucking melon. So I gave it to my son. Great hats, by the way. But yeah, it was you could see the different ranges of emotion, right? The excitement, the relief. Young guys coming in that really don't know how hard it is to accomplish something like this, and they do it in their first or second year. I go back, I was a player my second year, we won the Super Bowl. And I remember my mindset being like, oh, that wasn't that hard. I'm only 2 years in, we already won a Super Bowl. It wasn't until year 8, 9, 10 that I really realized how much I took that for granted and how difficult it was to do that. You saw that with the young guys Sunday afternoon, celebrating, hey, this was easy, man. We're a good team. And then you saw the older guys, Decker, Frank, Graham, Romeo Cara's been here, through a couple regimes, even a guy like that. And you see the emotion on their face, and it's almost just a sigh of relief. Finally, we did it. Finally, after all these hard years, we're going to get the respect that we deserve, and that we earned. Taylor Decker probably had the most emotion out of anybody, that I talked to.
He's the only guy like that I would think
a lot of ups and downs,
would be a layover from if you're going back to
Caldwell,
but Bob Quinn's first couple years.
So Graham was here at that point. Okay. Graham was here with Patricia. Graham left to go to Denver for a couple years, came back. So Graham hasn't been here as steady as Taylor has. They came in together. They were rookies together. They both understand the history of this team, right? So I kind of grouped those two guys together. Frank was a guy who came in with Patricia's first year. So he saw a couple different regimes, has been around for a while too. But to see guys like that get a chance to finally celebrate, something positive. And I think in the moment it hits you that, we're not a joke anymore. You have to take it serious now. Now you got to put some respect on our name when you talk about the Detroit Lions. It's no more, how are they going to find ways to screw it up? You're not the butt of every joke. People aren't looking down at you anymore. You're looked at as a legitimate team and as legitimate players, right? Taylor Decker's looked at as a guy now that's a starting left tackle on a division title winning team, and a team that's got a chance to do a lot of good things for the rest of the season. Like, those things hit you in the moment, and all those emotions that you get, I mean, it can be overpowering. And I think for a lot of guys, it was overpowering in that moment. It was an exciting locker room to be in, I'll tell you that. But I also got a sense too, John, that it was another business trip. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like
was there.
I feel like the celebration was appropriate for what happened, right? Like, this wasn't a team that, hey, we won the division for the first time ever, and this is the only thing we wanted to do this year, and we did it, right? Like, the rest of the year, whatever, cherry on top, we're done, we won the division. You don't get that sense. You got a sense of, this was a business trip. We came in to do a job. We mission accomplished. We're division title champs. We're going to celebrate it like we do everyone in the NFL, because they're all difficult. None of them are easy. That one probably a little bit more, but I also got the sense that job ain't finished, man. Like, we got a lot of still ahead of us. We know we're going into a short week against Dallas. We know what kind of beasts they can be at home. We still know what kind of positioning we can put ourselves in to maximize this opportunity that we have for the rest of this season. So I thought that how great the celebration was. I think maybe more admirable was the fact that so many guys still knew, hey, this ain't over, man. Like, we got a lot of work still ahead of us, starting with the short week going to Dallas this week. We're going to enjoy this one. We're going to enjoy Christmas. When we get back on Tuesday, it's all business. That's done, right? Goal number 1, checked off. Goal number 2, let's see how high we can get our playoff seeds and how we can maximize our chances once we do get to the postseason of putting together a legitimate run.
Now, I mean, you and I talk about offensive line all the time, and it's clear when they have a healthy offensive line, this team it can play with anybody. But specifically Frank Ragnow, from a guy that played on the interior of the offensive line, what are you seeing from Frank? How important is he and vital and critical is he to the success of this offense?
Look, we all know what Frank is physically, right? Frank is a all-pro, Pro Bowl type center just based off of his physical abilities, his abilities to block guys, his abilities to win one-on-one consistently. That's what makes him a good player. What makes him a great player and a special player in my mind is what he's able to do mentally, what he's able to dissect from the other opposing team's defenses in Minnesota, finding, some sort of pattern in what they like to do in their rush, in their blitz, in their coverage schemes, finding some tendencies, right? That takes a lot of work. You have to be a special player to kind of pick up on a lot of those things. It took me a long time in this league before I got to that point where it's like, boom, seen this 100 times. Yup, this guy's blitzing. Hey, let's check the protection. Frank is that type of guy that he sees everything. And I think it makes everybody else's job so much easier on the offensive line. But it takes a whole lot of pressure off of Jared Goff, too. When you have another guy that sees it the exact same that you do, I've been a part of teams where, hey, as offensive linemen, we're allowed to make suggestions and say, hey, we think we're getting pressure here. Why don't you flip the protection? We were allowed to do. I've been part of other coaching schemes that, no, you just shut up and do what the quarterback tells you to do.
Yeah.
I always felt like that put a lot of pressure on the quarterback. If I can see it, why not save him a step and say, hey, oh, yep, we're on the same page. Got it. Yep, let's go. That's how Frank operates. And talking to him after the game, he was sitting in his locker room and he was exhausted. And he was like, man, my head hurts. Like, it just hurt. And I'm like, you good? Like, I thought maybe, I got blindsided.
Yeah.
Harrison Phillips, the big boy at D tackle. Like, you guys had a good battle in there. He's like, no, just mentally finding out where Harrison Smith is and locating Josh Metellus and locating some of these other defensive backs that they like to pressure when we're in 2x2 or when we motion, jet motion across, they like to fire the nickel, right? Like, he was mentally exhausted from that part of the game. But that's what makes him a special player. And I think that's what makes this offense really run at a different level when he's in there, because it just looks so much sharper. It looks smoother, right? There doesn't look to be any miscommunications or, you go back and watch the last 4 Minnesota games. It's like 4 or 5 times a game when they're bringing pressure, somebody blows an assignment and you're getting your quarterback drilled and it's sack, fumble. It's I'm hit as I'm throwing the ball, interception. Like, that's how they feast, right? Minnesota does. I didn't see one play in the pass game where there was a free runner. I saw protection, first of all, a scheme that Ben Jansen, Jared Goff, Frank Ragnow were able to get him in the right protections and the right adjustments. I saw better execution, and I didn't see any of that. And that, to me, it lets me know, A, you had a good plan against it, and B, you had guys that could see it, right? It's one thing to see it all week in practice and walkthroughs and when you're watching on film, but when it's flying right in front of your face and you look at the play clock, you got 5 seconds, you got to make a call right now. That you got to be right, and they were right. And a lot of that leads me back to Frank and his ability to just understand what their offense is trying to do, but also understand how defenses are trying to stop it as well. Getting them in the right place, right? That's such a big thing. And look, not every play is going to be a home run. You can say, oh, we should have went outside zone instead of inside zone. Damn, but you get you in favorable matchups to where you can say, hey, we can get 5-6 yards. We can get 7-8 yards. And maybe eventually we're going to bust some of these. That's all just getting in the right play and giving yourself an advantage at the line of scrimmage. I think it starts with Frank Ragnow, and I think it takes a lot of pressure off of everybody else's job, especially a guy like Jared Goff on the road, hard to communicate. When you got guys up front that you can trust, that you know what they're going to do, it makes his job a lot easier. And we've seen how high of a level he operates at, too, when he's got his starting 5 in front of him.
And so it's not obviously the offensive line. So many times we think it's the key, but I think for for this team, for protecting Jared Goff, for allowing him the opportunity to utilize all his weapons. I think it's even more so for the Detroit Lions this year. But when you look at the weapons, and obviously in the backfield, you've got Montgomery and Gibbs, another unbelievable couple moments for Jahmyr Gibbs as a rookie. Laporta, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Josh Reynolds. Now you've got J-Mo is starting to come on. What do you have? 6 targets, 5 catches, and he's made some tough catches in the last couple of weeks.
Over the middle too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, those are tough catches in the NFL.
Is this the offense that we kind of all thought we would be able to see at the beginning of the year? Now that Gibbs, Laporta, J-Mo, some of the young talent is getting the touches, getting the opportunities, but you're also seeing, hey, like Laporta wasn't targeted a lot in this game.
Yeah, 3 catches, 18 yards, not a.
But I mean, coming off some of his former performances, you've got to cover him. But then all of a sudden, what is it? 12 catches for Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah, I mean,
you can't cover everybody.
And really, 2 weeks in a row now, we've seen this offense operating at the level where we think it's the expectation, right? It doesn't look like they're operating at a level that's unsustainable, that they're just getting lucky, like busted coverages or. You know what I mean? Like, it looks like a level that you can compete with anybody when you play this type of way. And clearly it starts with the offensive line. It starts with the protection. Jahmyr Gibbs and Sam Laporta, I interviewed Frank for our pregame show last week, and I just said, man, how important is it for you guys to just have these rookies, these young players, not only contribute, but to get better every week? And he was like, Tej, man, like, I've never seen anything like this. I've never seen a group of young guys that can just lock in and just know and understand what we're trying to do, and just, find ways to just keep improving and have such a big difference ability for our offense. Like, I've never seen it before, and Jahmyr Gibbs is clearly that guy. The one fumble he had was a shame, because that would have been a highlight run. I mean, he had dead to rights, 2 safeties blitzing off the edge. He gets the ball, he makes one miss, he goes for 20 yards, and then they make a good play, pop the ball out. But the response, right? How do you come back from that, right? It's easy as a young player to start playing a little timid. That's all I'm thinking about is taking care of the ball. Yeah. Now you're not seeing the field. But Jahmyr Gibbs said, you know what? Screw it. I turned the ball over. I'm owning it. I'll be accountable. I got to go make up for it, though. And he did that. And he's just, man, he is such a difference maker. He's so fast. He's so quick. He's so shifty. It started getting to a point there in the second half where, we're looking around. We're like, where's David Montgomery? I haven't seen him in a while.
Did he get dinged up?
I don't think so. I think
there was early on in the game, it looked like he took a hit, and it was the one they actually replayed it. It was a run off to the left, and there was an unbelievable pop when he was tackled, and they actually replayed it on TV. Then he went to the sidelines, and it looked like he was kind of blinking, like he was not sure necessarily where he was, but he did come back later. We just didn't see him as much, and I was wondering if there was anything on the sideline.
Not that I noticed. I mean, at that point of the game, we kept peeking over, and he's got his helmet on. He's standing next to the coaches, and he did come in for a couple third downs, I think, for protection. But look, that could be, hey, man, Gibbs is the hot hand right now, right? That could be he's feeling it. He's making guys miss. He's doing some special things. Let's just keep rolling with him. It could be matchup oriented. Hey, most of our run plays, the success we're having is somebody outside zones, right? Gibbs is more of your outside zone runner than Montgomery, kind of in between the tackles. Montgomery, I did think, missed a couple holes early in the game too. I thought there was one that, he took an outside zone to the left. Jonah's guy spiked inside. He had to kind of pin him. Instead of keeping it outside, David tried to bounce back inside, went for like a 3-yard loss. That to me looked like a play that, man, if Montgomery just kept that outside, big opportunity. Yeah. So maybe the coaches said, hey, Gibbs is just seeing the field a little bit better today. We're going to ride with him. Maybe it's that type of game where, you realize you're going to lean heavy on these 2 guys for the rest of the season. Hey, Gibbs, today's your day. Maybe next week is Montgomery's day, right? We're going to try to keep you guys fresh. I didn't think that he got dinged up at all. Maybe he did. If he did it, it didn't come up post game at all. But Gibbs is just he's fun to watch. There's this one clip that's going on. I saw it live too, but there was this clip floating around social media where he makes the corner miss, and just the amount of space that he creates on one cut is honestly, like, I've never seen something like that before. And we were watching it on the bus, heading to the airport after the game, and everybody's like, man, like that that looks like Barry Sanders. Like some of those cuts that he makes is Barry-esque. We don't want to put that expectation up, but it's like, it reminds you of a guy like that, you know, and he's a special player. And he just seems to be getting better every single week, man. That's why, you know what? And we'll get into this, you know, farther down the line here, but if you operate this offensively, like you have the last 2 weeks, if you're consistent with that, you take care of the football, you run the ball, you protect the quarterback. This is a championship level offensive line. This is a championship level run game, right? We already know we're in the playoffs. It's just going to be next couple weeks going to decide who we're going to play, what seed we're going to be. But if you play like this, I mean, we've seen other teams in the NFC now show some cracks, right? We saw it Monday night with San Francisco. We saw it for a period of time with the Philadelphia Eagles, right? Yeah. If you play like this, I'm not going to say you should be the favorite coming out of this conference, but you put yourself right in that contender chair, man. Like that's what it's all about. You love to see a team that's hitting their stride at this point of the season, right? They got knocked on their ass a couple weeks ago, Green Bay, then Chicago kind of knocked them on their ass. You feel like they almost needed that. Almost like a wake-up call. Hey, urgent, guys, we got to get our shit right back again. Yeah. Certainly looks that way the last couple weeks. Hopefully they can keep it rolling. We all know this week's going to be a major challenge heading to Dallas too.
Well, it will be. And I want to talk about the defense in just a minute, but just to give everybody an update on where the Lions stand in terms of the playoffs. You look at the standings right now, obviously they won the division. They're going to host a playoff game, but they are currently at the 3 seed. Doesn't mean that they have to stay there. If they beat Dallas and they go on to win against Minnesota, they will be the number 2 seed because the tiebreaker between Dallas and Detroit will be common opponents. And having beat Dallas, I mean, the
Dallas will be head to head.
Right.
Philadelphia will be
Philly. Yeah. It'll be tied with Philly. Sorry. And the tiebreaker is common opponents. Dallas is that common opponent where Philly split with them, a win and a loss. The Lions would have beat them. Obviously, there was a Seattle, which they both, Philly and Detroit, lost to, but everybody else, it was matched up. Kansas City both won. So if they win at both games, they're in the 2 seed.
100%.
If they win and it is paired with in either game, now the San Francisco 49ers, who are the 1 seed, have the Commanders and they have the Rams.
Yeah.
If they tie or win either of those games, paired with the Lions winning out, the Lions would be the number 1
seed. Yeah. So if you take care of your business, which is going 2-0, the lowest you'll be is the 2 guaranteed a 2 seed, no matter what happens with Philly. San Fran, to get the 1 seed, you just need them to lose or tie, like you said, one of those last 2 games. Now, Commanders, I'm not putting too much stock into Washington, trying to knock them out. No offense, John. I know those are your homeboys over there. But that last game of the season is going to be interesting. As long as we take care of our business, right? You look at a Rams team that's getting hot. That's a division matchup.
They're also playing for their playoff lives.
They're going to be playing for a whole lot too, maybe seeding themselves, maybe even just trying to get into the postseason. That could be a game that has a lot of implications on not only, do the Lions possibly bump up to the 2, bump up to the 1, stay at the 2, but also their first round opponent. Who's that going to be? Because the Rams, the Seahawks, the Vikings are still kind of lingering around there. We know whoever this second place team in the NFC East is going to be, whether it's Philly or Dallas, is going to be the 5 seed.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a lot to play for. But you're right. I mean, that's, as we sit here today, right now, they're the 3 seed. But like you said, if they win out, no matter what Philly does, because I think they've got the Giants, they've got the Cardinals, odds on probably favorite to win out. Yeah. Doesn't matter. As long as you take care of your business, the lowest you can be is the 2 seed, which guarantees you 2 home games if you take care of the first one. So they're in a position now to really control their destiny. To get the 1 seed kind of looked like it was off the table a couple weeks ago. I mean, it's not that far-fetched anymore, right? I mean, but the bottom line is, and I think this team has had this kind of mindset the whole season, is that we don't really care what other teams are doing, man. Like we're taking our stuff week by week, day by day. Like we're focused on what we have to do. You know what I mean? And that for Dan Campbell to keep his group of guys in that type of mindset is very difficult in today's day and age. And I think it's very admirable to have these guys just prepared the proper way, right? Yeah. So obviously we know the big challenge this week is, hey, short week, right? got to go to Dallas, who has won 15 straight games at home. Last loss coming week 1 last year. I think it was against Tampa Bay in Dallas. They're a very good team at home. You're obviously coming off of a major high, right, with what we saw Sunday in Minnesota. How do you find a way to regroup these guys? How do you find a way to make sure you punch home that message that that's done, right? The division's done. We got that off our back. We've got bigger fish to fry. We've got to get back to work. We can't be worrying about that. No lingering hangovers, no lingering thoughts about the celebration and all that. We got to move on to Dallas because we really do have an opportunity to do something special. And I was in the playoffs 8 times. I only won the Super Bowl once. Not to say only, it was great time to win. Wish you could have won more. But you understand once you get to the playoffs, anything can happen. Right. And the better you set yourself up heading into the playoffs, better chance you're going to give yourself
an advantage.
Something special. Yeah.
So let's talk defense real quick before we go. 411 yards given up to Nick Mullins. Now, obviously 4 interceptions to go along with it, some other turnovers, but how concerning is it? We've talked about the defense, and they're putting pressure on. They got 4 sacks, 4 turnovers, but it's still 411 yards of offense. What do the Lions do? And is there, how big of an impact will C.J. Gardner-Johnson be, Aleem McNeil, possibly James Houston? I mean, you could get 3 playmakers back at about the right time.
Yeah, I think, Justin Jefferson really probably had, 2 game-changing moments in that play, 2 big plays, I would say, couple. Well, I think one of them coming on that last drive that was a 3rd and forever. He goes up a double cover, just makes a
unbelievable catch.
Incredible play. I mean, let's just be honest. He's that type of guy that's going to do that. He also made a hell of a catch in the end zone, on that touchdown that was tightly covered as well. I did notice a couple slips in coverage, early in the game. That might have been the first play. They hit like a 35-yard gain to their tight end. It looked to me like the safety was supposed to be in man-to-man coverage, saw the play action, got a little greedy, said, you know what, I think I can go get pressure on him, leaves his guy wide open. We saw a big play, right? Later in the game, second half, and like fourth quarter, they got back to a little bit more conservative play call. They were bringing a lot of pressure the entire game, bringing guys from all over the place. There was a couple series in a row there where they were trying to just go coverage, 4-man pressure. The pressure wasn't really getting there. Nick Mullins had time to kind of locate some guys downfield. You saw some slips in coverage there. Obviously a little bit concerning, but for me, I think you've set kind of a not a complete new identity, but a little bit of a wrinkle to your identity on defense, which is being aggressive as hell. Like having a high pressure rate, having a high blitz rate, finding ways to mix match your pressures to where you can get a free runner at the quarterback and hopefully get a sack fumble like we saw against Denver, or get a hit where, the ball's popping up in the air, we get an interception, right? I think that has to be part of your identity moving forward. If you're Aaron Glenn, is finding creative ways to pressure the quarterback, because, at times the 4-man rush was good. Still little, maybe not as consistent as you want to see it. So, I want to see the same thing again in Dallas. I want to see them, pressure Dak Prescott. Dallas has a really good offensive front. It's going to be tough to get home with 4 guys at times. How can you be creative? How can you show them unscouted looks that they haven't seen before? Different packages on 3rd down, where maybe last week it was a double A-gap mug. Maybe this week we're standing 6-7 guys up at the line and kind of moving around and, challenging your communication skills. How can you find ways to just create that one play that can make a difference in these type of games? I want to see how they can do that. But a guy like, Ife Melifonwu, we said this earlier on today's show, kind of feels like a mid-season transaction. A guy that, you went and got and then playing for you the second half of the season. And it's just like, man, like the guy's
where'd he come from?
Like a game changer, right? Yeah. Couple sacks, couple interceptions, couple forced fumbles, couple big hits, a couple pass breakups. I mean, the guy looks like a difference maker out there. You couple that with the potential C.J. Gardner-Johnson return, which may happen. I can say I don't know if it will or not, but it may happen as early as this week.
Yeah.
Right. That's just giving you more toys to play with. That's giving you more ways to create versatility, create mismatches. If you're Aaron Glenn, utilizing guys, maybe, hey, we can put Cam Sutton on this guy and then bracket everybody else. Right. Or maybe we can double over here. There's so many more opportunities, the more able players that you have. So I want to see how Aaron Glenn can keep these guys aggressive, how he can keep them playing at a high confidence level, how he can keep them playing at a at a high physicality level, right? Because although we did see some slips in the coverage at times, you still see, look, Minnesota ran the ball 11 times for 17 yards.
Right, yeah.
That's pretty damn good.
One-dimensional.
Right, that's pretty damn good. And for me, it's always been, I don't really care about how many yards you get. If I can lock you down in the red zone, I can force you to kick in some field goals. I can get a couple takeaways. That's what it's about. But if you can, the rest of this season, including the playoffs, I know we're looking far ahead. If you can stop the run, you're gonna have a tremendous opportunity to win these games. They obviously did a great job of it against Minnesota. You're gonna have to do another great job of it this week against Dallas, because if you allow them to be two-dimensional, throwing the ball, play action, running the ball, that's a very tough team to beat.
Well, we can't talk about the playoffs because the Lions are guaranteed a playoff spot. They're guaranteed a home playoff game. So everybody I know is excited, but we'll get a chance to talk about that up next. The Dallas Cowboys and a trip to Dallas. Safe travels. And
you as well, John.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm going to be headed out to obviously Pasadena.
Yes, sir. Couple big games for us Michiganders here this weekend.
I know. I tell you what, it's Saturday and Monday. It'll be a big weekend.
It'll be a lot of
fun.
But
we'll make sure to bring. It'll be a little bit later in the week. Just a heads up, because I will be out in California, not back until midweek. So stay tuned as we will bring you the breakdown of the game against the Cowboys, as well as a look ahead to the final week of the regular season. TJ, I can't believe the regular season
here already
is almost over, but it's that time of year. It's playoff time. We've got playoff football here in Detroit. So we'll talk to you next week. Thanks for listening to Necessary Roughness.